For years now, I have been training to return back to a game I had long since abandoned. Prodigy. Okay, well, I barely played it because it's just Pokemon at home.
Mommy, I want Pokemon.
But honey, we already have Pokemon at home.
But I mean, I still played it. Now, a lot of people I know have had a close relationship with this game. One of my friends literally grinded to level 100 in the game, which went into his high school years. Another one, and I'll let you take a guess who, based his whole online persona off this one monster from Prodigy. Anyway, I guess I should tell you what Prodigy is. Prodigy is a children's math game themed around wizards and magic. The game takes inspiration from Pokemon with a turn-based combat system and multiple monsters you can capture as Pokemon and pets. You solve math problems which, depending on your selected grade level, changes complexity. There's also an English language arts or ELA version of the game, which has been completely separated with its gameplay, and from what I can tell is more similar to Animal Crossing. But for this video, we're going to focus on the math game only, as I plan to hopefully make a separate video for the ELA version, depending on how well this video does. Hey everybody, Editing ARG here. Unfortunately, it seems that while I was getting some footage, or I was just interested in this guy's video a bit, because he kind of made this type of video right before me, right? And Prodigy, like the YouTube channel of Prodigy themselves, went ahead and commented on the video. Oh no, I really hope they don't see this video. I mean, I would scrap the video, but unfortunately I'm a bit too far into this shit.
I have spent the past week of my life playing 14 hours of Prodigy Math. Be
Man,
one of the only people to give a full review of Prodigy as a video game.
I've had this sitting in the files for 2 months now, since July. Don't judge me. I take you know how painful it is to edit 40 something minutes of scripted, audio? It's a very boring process. Prodigy used to look really pixelated and low resolution, and I mean it still kind of does, it's just less extreme than before. And that's not the only thing that looks different. Anybody who's played older versions of Prodigy will notice that a lot of the monsters look dramatically different. Take a look at, for example, the Neeks. There's a different Neek for every type. Every Neek had this cool wizard-like appearance to them, which got cooler and more unique per evolution. And I hate to be the, oh, this thing was so much better than the new thing type of guy, but this shit had to be one of the worst fall-offs ever. The evolution of the Neeks went from cool looking wizards to the Reddit alien, then to the Android logo, and then to a Reddit moderator. Like it fucking came full circle. Seriously, what the hell happened? The third evolution of the Neeks went from these big and intimidating wizards to your average Redditor. Just give it a fucking fedora and it'll tip its hat going like, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. And that's not the only monster they've ruined. They ruined Cloaker, which was the monster my friend Cloak literally based his entire online persona off of. And sure, basing your entire persona off of a monster from some kid's math game is certainly a move, but look at how Cloaker used to look compared to now. Alright, now that I'm done pointing out how different old and new Prodigy look, I might as well get into the login page. I make the account, select one of 6 profile pictures Prodigy allows you to use, select the version of the game I'm playing, and then the most important part, selecting my grade level. As previously explained, the grade level you choose will end up determining what kind of math you will do to use your spells. So here I chose first grade because let's be real here, I have a video to make and I'm 99% sure that you clicked on this video to see the game and not to see me do Algebra 1. Like only one of you guys is interested in that shit. You know exactly who you are, by the way. After that, we customize our character and we spawn in simply as Wizard because this game low-key forgot I chose the name Hugh J. You can guess what the J stands for. Also, I originally intended for Cloak to be here throughout the whole journey, but that kind of fell apart. So he'll be here for a bit, but then after that I'm soloing this game because I'm just that good. Anyway, I walk out of my house and this Toad from Mario looking motherfucker ends up approaching me. But instead of saying, that was a sound effect by the way, he ends up speaking English and introducing himself as Newt. He's basically a chaperone for your wizard. Now the wizard you play as is a mute, so as a result, he ends up doing all the talking for you. He takes you to what is called the Academy, which is basically a floating castle, and you run into a wizard named Theo and are handed your first wand, a raggedy ass stick. Then you fight against Theo, who despite being covered in head to toe with crazy gear and a pet, is at level 1 alongside his pet, so you end up whooping both their asses. After that, you choose your first pet. I chose a fire type, knowing that you'd end up in the grass type world first, and thinking that fire types would be strong against grass types, just like in real Pokemon. Except they're not. They're weak to ice types instead, which is weird as hell, but you'll see that this game has some pretty interesting choices, or at least different choices for type advantages, at least when it comes to fire and grass. Then we're shown the keystones, which are essentially plus-sized infinity stones, after which the Academy rumbles and the keystones are scattered. We meet the Puppet Master and his side bitch Pippet, fight a monster, and head back home where Newt tells us that the infinity stones are only scattered. So now, like the Avengers are getting the infinity stones, we have to go through various regions of the world to find the stones. First place will be the grass type region, but before that I need a name, so I went with the most fire wizard name this game will allow. Aiden Coin Winner, because this wizard in particular gets the money. Anyway, the Puppet Master decided that he hasn't had enough with trying to stop me, and he ends up clouding up the entire map with the exception of the area map. Now we must go on a journey through multiple first grade level map problems, monsters that are basically Pokemon, inconsistent microphone quality, some incredibly annoying side characters, paywalls, and even more paywalls. And buckle up, because if you couldn't tell by the length of this video, it's going to be a long ass journey. With that said, we can finally start this misadventure. We start off by being given this little illustration of the story, and I know I called this game Pokemon at Home, but this art's cool for something like this, not gonna lie. But I end up skipping it by accident, or by pure ignorance. I won't really repeat that mistake again. Anyway, I run to where the game tells me to run to beat up some monsters that have a striking resemblance to Charles Entertainment Cheese. Once you're done jumping them, you're shown the awards you get, plus the potential members awards you could get if you pay to become a member. This will become pretty prominent later, as you'll see. Anyway, you're officially put into the public service. After that, you go around whooping more monsters' asses until you finally meet Flora, who tells you about the former state of the forest and how the bad magic went ahead and blah blah blah. Then a dragon comes to the forest and we must fight it. This is where I decided to give my pet the name Eddie Murphy, because, you know, let's just say the dragon's got some beautiful eyelashes, and that would be his official name if the game lets you name your monsters, just like how they let you name your Pokemon in Pokemon. Anyway, Flora mid-fight gives me a level up, and we whoop the dragon's ass hard enough to make it run away for now. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you were able to run from battles in Prodigy, but nowadays that's either not the case or was never the case to begin with. After which we go to the next area, but the dragon's back, and he wants to fight some more. But of course, we gotta level up before letting Eddie Murphy do his thing with the dragon. Then we are introduced to Florian. No, not that Florian, Flora's male counterpart, that Florian, where he tells us to meet up with this man up in a snowy mountain, Bach, which is interesting because grass types are weak to ice types in this game, but whatever. Anyway, Bach gives me a monster on its second evolution to help further destroy grass types. No other side character does this for me, by the way, only Bach does this, so he's a real champ. Anyway, I pull up to the Puppet Master and Pippet, and a bunch of people yap before I destroy Pippet, and I'm handed this note, but I can't read it because it's in monster. Okay. I take the note up to some homeless elf, or gnome, or dwarf, or something. What the fuck do you call these guys? Anyway, he speaks perfect Japanese and informs me that the note is saying that some shit's about to go down, and that it was written by sprites. Whatever the fuck those are. Also, the microphone quality is inconsistent between some characters too. Listen to Florian versus this hobo.
No time. When I was in the shadow magic, I think I saw the Puppet Master putting rocks to sleep?
What have we here? A note written by monsters, huh? Let me read it.
Then I tried walking away only to get jumped by a clan member, but it doesn't really matter because he and his pets got their shit rocked. Now on my second recording, I didn't forget to turn on my microphone, so you can now hear me speak as if you weren't already hearing me speak. Anyway, I continue on this journey searching for Flora's flute, killing more monsters and even more monsters. And yeah, this game gets pretty repetitive. And you can barely capture the monsters too. In Pokemon, if you rock a Pokemon's shit hard enough, you can end up catching them with a Pokeball. And sometimes you need to be a certain level for certain Pokemon to get caught, but you can still catch just about any Pokemon you wish. Now, some Pokeballs are more powerful than others, of course, but ultimately you could theoretically just capture whoever the hell you want, outside of other people's Pokemon, of course. Now with Prodigy, you can only capture first evolution pets for free. Any higher evolution is going to cost you magic coins, one of the many currencies in this game. Only problem with magic coins is that, like many things in this game, they're a pain to get for free players, with you having to do these missions in order to get these magic coins. However, of course, they're a lot easier to obtain if you have a membership. And that's not the only thing painful about being a free player. Additionally, these magic coins are also required for you to evolve your pets. No credit card, no third evolution. And like I said about some of the missions required to get some of these magic coins, it can be a pain, and on top of that, there's not a whole lot of them. In fact, evolving pets used to be free. You used to just do this without a membership. Membership players are additionally given these cloud mounts, which probably serve no other purpose than to just flaunt your membership to, I guess, peasants. Additionally, there's this tower that you can climb up it and beat a bunch of monsters for rewards. However, you can't get past level 5 without a membership. So yeah, that's all that work for nothing. There's also gear that a player can obtain for free, however, can only be worn if you are a member, which is so damn insulting. Sometimes it's not even better than your current gear you're wearing, but the game still blocks you from wearing it simply because you don't pay $8.33 a month or $11.25 a month to the game. I understand they gotta make money somehow, but goddamn, they just love shoving this membership down your throat so much that it'd make EA blush. At this point, I feel like they should just make the game paid access. I feel like that would make these issues 10 times less annoying, because you don't feel like you'd have to pay extra for basic features. Anyway, now that I'm finished with that tangent, after I beat up some monsters, I said after I beat up some monsters, I'm able to go back to the academy. Oh, and they also broke Flora's flute, and Flora wants me to do a welfare check on her rock friend Gerald. So we check on Gerald, and clearly something's up with him. So we go to repair Flora's flute, only for some no good thieving thug piece of shit to come and steal the goddamn flute. Can't have shit in Firefly Forest. So Flora describes herself as upset. Damn.
Can't believe it. No one
People are
really
fucking...
mad, and nobody wants to mess with an angry fairy.
What the fuck is this voice acting, bro? If that's the case, then this has to be the least intimidating motherfucker to get angry. Oh, and speaking of upset, I sent a picture of me battling Cloaker to Cloak. Safe to say, he was also rather upset about it. So we steal the flute back and go back to Gerald. Then the flute's played, and to nobody's surprise, Gerald wants to fight. Well, nobody's surprise being specifically the player, because everyone gets shot in the game, so it's whatever. But he gets clapped pretty easily. He's broken out of the Puppet Master's magic and gives me some armor, after which I'm given the grass keystone. Keystones in this game are basically like gym badges. So now with one keystone, I have 4 more to go. While there, we meet the Academy's keeper Gale, who totally isn't just a clone of Floria. He asked me to go get some papers and wait a second, I'm Hispanic. Yeah, I completely forgot this part existed. I have no idea what the purpose of this was other than to give you some gear, but I'm sure it was important considering they provided voice lines for this and not the Dark Tower lady.
Oh, where are my manners? I forgot to introduce...
This bitch ain't got no voice lines. Huh. Oh, and to get an additional spin on this wheel, you need a membership. Who would have thought? Anyway, we head back to the snowy mountains to meet up with Balk again. Oh, and by the way, the bird on top of his head talks to him, but only he can understand the bird. He sends us to go look at the furnace room, only for us to find out that all the furnaces are out. So we had to jump some monsters and get the crystals. And once we got the crystals, it was enough to light up one of the furnaces. Dear God, we're going to have to light up all 4 furnaces. So we headed out to get more crystals. And on the way there, we find a guy stuck in some ice. And then Bach says,
"You find miner? Bach not like miners one bit."
if only the celebrities of 2024 had Bach's mentality. Bach states that before the miners, he was the king of the mountain. And when the miners came to the mountain, they dethroned his ass. I bet they were French. But then Bach's bird realizes that we could have the miners go find the crystals for us. So Bach gives me a key to go find the shovel. However, on the way there, tragedy struck. I had my first encounter with these stupid ass drag and drop questions. These were such a waste of time, as I could have easily typed a number or something to answer these simple addition questions, but no, I just had to drag and drop these stupid things into the boxes. This shit takes way too long. It's just like, damn, just let me get into the action. Anyway, we free the miner, and he informs us that the monsters that we just whooped were not the real monsters that he was hiding from, and that the real monster he was hiding from was some sort of ice demon. Anyway, the miner tells us that there may be 1 or 2 crystals left in the mines, so we continue searching, counting more circles until we encounter the ice demon. What? Oh, so that's what they were talking about.
I think that's the real monster.
You look way too happy about that. But it doesn't matter, as we just had Eddie Murphy do his thing with the ice dragon, after which Bach meets us again. Now, at first I was confused why worm was spelt that way, because to be honest, I had very little interest in fantasy for a while. I kind of still do, and still just assume that the writers got dyslexic here, so yeah, don't get mad at me. Anyway, we walk over to a cave, and the puppet master was back at it again, so I had to whoop Pippet again. But before continuing with the video, I gotta say, these have gotta be some of the weakest fucking designs for enemies Pippet has ever thrown at me. Like, I ran past these dudes in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. These guys do not look intimidating whatsoever. Afterwards, I caught a cloaker, showed it to Cloak, and this was his response. I definitely did not move on his request. Instead, I sent the cloaker to a farm up north, where it could have some fun and have plenty of room to run around. Where this farm is, don't worry about it. Just know that it's there. During one of these fights, I also found out that the second evolution maxes out to level 40, and because I didn't have any magic coins, I could not level up my pets any further than 40. Anyhow, after that, I went back to the furnaces and put the crystals in there. Got more crystals, lit up more furnaces, and then we encountered the last crystal for the furnace, only for this no good thieving thug dragon just to steal the fucking crystal from us. Can't have shit in Shivertail Mountain. Shit's fucked up. Like, she really was some thieving ass motherfucker. And if you're wondering how I know it's a she, I don't know, ask Eddie Murphy. Anyway, Bach continues to get mocked by his bird. Sadly, we don't know what the bird is saying, but assuming by Bach's reactions to its various hoots, we can assume that he was absolutely cooking Bach. Anyway, we gotta collect 5 mini crystals to trick the dragon into meeting Eddie Murphy again. We do that, and it gets fucked up. After that's finished, I go to the throne room, where there's a noticeable lack of voice acting and music, and pick up the ice keystone. Afterwards, I return the space stone to the academy, and with that we have 3 more keystones to collect. That's right, all this time, and we're not even halfway done yet. We now unlock 2 new regions of the map, the fire region and the water region. I end up choosing the water region as I already have a fairly powerful fire type, Eddie Murphy. Also, I've already spoken about the art shown before you enter each world, but man, they really hyped this game up. Anyway, I traveled to the water region, where I'm greeted by Eve, an Australian pirate who I mistook for being British, which kinda makes sense considering Australia's history. Anyway, she asks me to pass a test as if this isn't just a big excuse for me to wipe out the monsters on her behalf, fake ass bitch. But that doesn't matter, because just like J-Lo, we're only helping her for the stone. So we decide to undertake her test, and by decide I mean we have no other choice in this situation. She tells us about some crazy monster roaming the seas due to the puppet master and blah 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 blah. So now we must look for it and defeat it for the stone. But before we get into the ocean and look for the monster, we must get a breathing bubble. So we get one. Eve then tells me to go meet Jelly Jim, who probably saw the monster, but I log off at this part and log back in to find myself surrounded by 2 monsters with higher levels than me. I fight one and get murked by 3 monsters. This is pretty much the entire water world, by the way. I have to fight this singular roadblock multiple times before I can finally meet Jelly Jim. And when I do meet him, it's a major disappointment. I was hoping he'd look cooler. Instead, he's just an amalgamation of all the trash in the ocean plus a jellyfish with a bubble. He tells us that he saw a creature close by, gives us some money, and then we continue looking. My level 47 Ash tries to avoid as many enemies as possible because for some reason they're all like level 59. But I couldn't avoid this one, and I was unfortunately forced to fight against 3 monsters, all of whom were a higher level than my wizard, aka the highest level member of my team, as I can't evolve any of my other pets. Despite this, I managed to squeeze my way through this fight and then head into the boat and find some sludge in there. So Eve shows up and asks us to sample the sludge. We sample it and find out that we need a sonic blaster. So now we must search for this thing called a sonic blaster, which Eve has but won't use to get rid of the sludge for us. So while she could do something about it being properly equipped to get rid of the sludge, she instead does nothing because it's part of the trial, which, like I said, is likely an excuse for her not to do shit. See what I meant when I said that she's a fake ass bitch? I wasn't exaggerating. She really is a fake ass bitch. Except, here's the thing. When I went to get the sonic blaster, it was just right there, in a crate. No monsters needed to be fought or anything of that sort. It was just there in a crate. She could have gotten that shit herself and handed it to me, no problem. Whatever, nothing I can really do about it anyway. So, I went to the sludge, sonic blasted it, and there was nothing in it. However, what was in front of it was one of the snowy guys, who was also level 57, a whole 10 levels ahead of me. Another fight I barely managed to squeeze through. Then I go into the next room and see this giant ghost. Sonic blast some more sludge, and then I'm finally out of this boat. However, I have to fight this level 62 monster. What the fuck? I'm genuinely unsure on how I managed to fight this too. I'm unsure how I managed to fight through most of these monsters considering my level disadvantage. Looking back at this footage, I think I was supposed to go to the fire level first, then the water level, considering the sheer amount of level disadvantages I had, versus where the fire level, they weren't as dramatic. Anyway, we head down this whirlpool, and guess what's down there? Is it A, sofa, B, an expensive haircut, or C, the puppet master and his side bitch Pippet? That's right, it's C. So we fight, and I get my ass handed to me, so we fight again. And I get my ass handed to me again. And then I fight again, and this time Pippet gets his ass handed to him, which is all that matters. Anyway, we go up to the pit, and we get Eve there again. And she realizes that it's very big and that we should ask Jelly Jim to figure out what's in that tunnel. So I go back to Jelly Jim, get my ass handed to me some more by monsters roughly 10 levels higher than me, try to cheese my way out of having to go through more monsters, failing to do so, and then we finally get back to Jelly Jim. Jelly Jim tells us that in order to show Eve what's underwater, we need to use what's called an underwater camera. And unlike Eve, Jelly Jim actually gives me an underwater camera. So you know what? This is my formal apology to Jelly Jim for dissing him earlier. He's actually pretty alright. Unfortunately, I must now go back to the tunnel and go through the stupid OP monsters and drag these stupid fucking circles again. But once we finally make it there, we take the photo and we must go back to find some more clues. And honestly, at this point, with all this circle dragging and level 60 something enemies, I really was at my lowest point in the recording sessions and felt like that one scene from SpongeBob where Patrick gets his ass whooped by himself. This footage is not provided because of how Viacom tends to be. So when I'm done collecting the final set of scales, I'm just hoping to God that it's finally over and I can move on to the next world. Unfortunately, I'm not, and I must do some more circle dragging and fighting overpowered monsters before fighting the boss. So after a fuck ton of fighting, and when I say a fuck ton, I mean nearly half of this 3-hour recording's runtime, I get a key and finally face the boss. The boss of this world has by far given me the most trouble out of any of them easily when it comes to getting to him. And goddamn, when I make it there, he looks incredibly underwhelming. And not only does he look incredibly underwhelming, he is incredibly underwhelming. He's the same level as me, and meanwhile, just about every other monster I fought in this world was a higher level than him. Therefore, I made quick work of him, beating him in my first try. And once that was finally done, I was finally handed the water keystone and could finally move on to the next level. Now I see why Pokemon games are very easy games, because god damn, it is not fun having to lose over and over and over and over and over again and not gain anything from it in terms of turn-based combat. You literally get nothing out of losing, like absolutely nothing. Not even experience, not even fun. It's just not fun at all, honestly. Now I am used to pushing my limits when it comes to doing things like these, as seen by the fact that you are watching this video right now, that city I'm building in me and my friends Minecraft server, and the fact that I beat all 87 BeamNG scenarios and made a whole video about it, and much more. However, this was genuinely just difficult, and chances are I didn't do the stones in the correct order. Looking at the assortment of the stones, the water stone is the last stone shown, which probably means that it's supposed to be the hardest one. However, according to the Prodigy wiki, you're likely meant to beat the storm level after the ice level. However, I didn't end up unlocking the storm level until it was in the water level, so who knows. What I do know is that I finally prevailed through the challenge of the stupid fucking water level and placed the stone in the academy, leaving me with 2 stones to collect. The next place I went to was the fire world, and it would show off its own unique challenge.
Slurpee the Valiant at your service.
Slurpee is my least favorite side character in the whole game. Fuck it, he's my least favorite character in the whole game. I don't know if it's because I don't like children or something, but Slurpee by far out of all these side characters is the one that just pisses me off and gets on my nerves the most.
He's kind of like one of those RPG characters that just keeps harassing you, except more annoying.
I genuinely believe that if a pastor had to interact with Slurpee, he'd start preaching in support of contraception, Plan B and all. Now, I don't know if it's his voice or his writing, and I'm just gonna say, in case worse comes to worse, if anybody finds Slurpee's voice actor, please, for the love of God, do not send them hate. This segment's only meant to be exaggerating in its humor, and I did not want to be the one responsible for a massive hate wave, or any real hate wave for that matter of fact, to someone just because they voiced an annoying character. Anyway, that's enough hating on Slurpee, not the voice actor, except it's not enough hating on Slurpee. Expect me to continue to complain about Slurpee, because he starts off by calling me silly, and then proceeds to label me as a sidekick, like he's the main character, like he's the one whooping all these monsters' asses, like he's the one who's collected 3 keystones so far.
Slurpee then explains that because we're in the bottom of a fucking volcano for whatever reason, that we've got to hit a bunch of switches to, let off the lava levels or whatever. Because yeah, that's how volcanoes work. That's right, everyone. It's time for some more goddamn fetch quests.
Thankfully, not every monster I face off against in the volcano is a whole ass 10 levels ahead of me, so I am able to get the levers with relative ease, with goddamn Slurpee calling me a sidekick every time I do something. Also, there's these flowers in the volcano that when you go up to them, give you the local currency, which was given the goofy ass name of Hot Hots. Oh yeah, if you didn't know, each world has its local currency similar to Mario Odyssey, only I never used any of the local currency throughout the adventure. Their main purpose is to be used at local shops to buy gear and whatever, but most of the good stuff is locked behind, you guessed it, memberships. Anyway, once we flip the last lever, Slurpee refers to himself as brave, as if he's the one killing all these monsters, and tells us that he found the secret ingredient for the meal the chef is cooking up for the queen. So we get said ingredient and spike the queen's dish and get the gift of fire, which is a basic fire relic. Now, according to Slurpee, all we have to do is attend the royal dinner and take all the credit. So the queen tries her dish and
What is this, Cebellini? Raisins?
But, madame, I assure you.
You have broken the royal rule! No raisins in the Queen's dishes! You have left me no choice, Cebellini. You are fired!
What? Fired? Me? This is an outrage.
What the fuck is this microphone quality?
You have not heard the last of Chef Cebellini Carpaccio.
I think that's our cue to leave. Fast!
She fucking hates it. Specifically because of the raisins we spiked her dish with. Because of course this dipshit slime didn't know that the queen hated raisins. Not only does this make the queen pissed and cause her to fire her chef, but then Slurpee proceeds to call himself Slurpee the Wise and his local companion like I'm his goddamn pet. He then tells me to go get the cooking supplies that he leaves around the levers because that's just a great idea. So I do, but only for the stone. Remember, we're like J-Lo. And during the journey to get the supplies, we encounter the Puppet Master and Pippet again. Pippet whoops my ass again, and then I whoop his ass again. It's the same song and dance every time, only Pippet has a different pet for each occasion. Anyway, once I get all the cooking supplies, and once we have that, we're told to ask the guards what the queen likes in her meals, because Slurpee's lazy ass couldn't be bothered to ask himself. And as a matter of fact, we actually have to ask the guards this question, so that next time we spike the queen's, meal with any ingredients, it's not something that she fucking hates, because some dipshit 10-year-old decided to recommend it to us. Anyway, once the guards tell us that the queen likes turnip and that he is insecure about his lack of ears, Slurpee says that turnips are kinda rare and can only be harvested by people under the crown. So we head over to the turnips field where we see 2 turnip harvesters getting jumped by some birds. So we go jump said birds and get the turnips from Slurpee. Then Slurpee shows up unwanted and we head back to get the meal prepared. Except there's one problem. You remember the royal chef from earlier? The one who Slurpee's dumbass got fired? Well, this chef has a name. Cebellini or Cebellini, I don't know fucking French. And speaking of French, he is French. More importantly than him being French, however, is that he is pissed at us for getting him fired and decides to steal the dish we just cooked up for the queen. To which Slurpee once again makes an unwanted appearance and says,
"Why couldn't the royal chef make his own food for the queen?" Oh, right. Well, I guess it was kinda your fault he got fired.
my fault? Bitch, you fucking told me to get the raisins and feed it to the queen. This was your fucking fault, you fucking testosterone lacking slimy bitch. Seriously, he blamed us for his shortcomings? You see why I hate this slimy bastard? Anyway, we gotta go back and get something to cross the lava. So we do, and we finally encounter Cebellini. Rather than engaging in the long, time-honored French tradition of surrendering, he decides to fight us. So we must take the food from him, and we did. His fight, like every other boss in this game, is very easy. After whooping his ass, he admits that the dish is very well made and makes me even angrier because he's complimenting Slurpee. Thankfully, our time with Slurpee is almost over. All we gotta do now is hand over the dish to Queen, and Slurpee will no longer assault my sanity or my eardrums. When this happens, Newt proudly claims that Slurpee will be the queen's new chef, to which she asks, "Is this a joke?" I wish it were. And Slurpee is proclaimed the new royal chef, and then Slurpee dips because of course he does. And so Cebellini is rehired with Slurpee as an apprentice. Anyway, we're teleported back to Slurpee where I click past his last remarks and collect the fire kidney stone. The reason why it's called a kidney stone is because it was a pain to pass. And then we place it in the pedestal in the academy, leaving me with one more stone to collect. Thank God I don't have to interact with Slurpee anymore. He really was getting on my nerves. As a matter of fact, I beat the entire world in one sitting just so I didn't have to deal with Slurpee the next day I was recording. Now, we finally head off into the storm level, where we see 2 ladies beefing with each other. Benny, who has a very interesting tone when speaking, and Broccolina, who feels like the embodiment of the actually meme. After this, I realized I have no plant type pets, which are strong against storm types for some reason. So I try to get one, but come back empty handed. So fuck it, we ball. We go to the greenhouse to clear out monsters Broccolina was complaining about, and do that with relative ease. We are also informed that Benny and Broccolina are sisters.
I didn't see you there. The name's Benny, and this is my sister, Broccolina.
These two are fucking related? Benny then asks us to go get her weatherometer. And while I'm talking about this place, it literally controls the weather. Like if somebody really decided to fuck with Skywatch, they could just send a tsunami their way or something. That's just a crazy thought. Anyhow, we head to Benny's place where some monster steals her weatherometer. And from here on out, I'm calling it a laptop because there's no way I'm gonna say weatherometer more than 3 times. And if you think that's dramatic, then how about you try reading a whole ass, what is it, like what, 9-page script. Alright, how would you go try that without fucking up in some fashion? Because let me tell you, it's pretty difficult, especially if you got a stutter or something. I mean, I don't got a stutter, it's whatever. Anyway, we gotta chase the monster, fight some monsters on the way there until we have him cornered, at which point we fight him, kill him, and take the laptop from him. And immediately after that fight, I have to fight 3 sets of monsters, which I lost. But it's all good because we got teleported the fuck out of there. However, the laptop got broken, so we gotta check the machines for the weather manually. However, we need to get Broccolina. On the way to repair, I also took with me this goose that looks like it's stoned. However, when we head to Broccolina's place, it's empty, so we had to head over to some place she's maintaining called the Beanovator, and we're heading there. Go through an elevator, and she's there. Her and her sister have another fight, and I collect this chest and head for the lifts. Avoid these level 60 monsters, get rid of vines, and finally make it to the machine where I'm greeted by this very intimidating looking cloud who freezes up the vines. So Benny and Broccolina show up, and I need to upgrade the trimmer for the vines. Tools to do such a thing are in the workshop, and I need keys to get into said workshop. And in order to find said keys, I need clues. So I get the clues, and my ass kicked by more monsters. So after all the trouble of getting clues, I find out that the key is hidden at the entrance to the factory. Amazing. All that trouble, all those ass whoopings, just for it to be in front of the factory. And then I make it back, and oh look, it's Pippin again. Beat up some more monsters, after which I'm given the new trimmer and can now finally clear the vines those clouds have been messing with. Once I'm done with those clouds, I head out to meet the man of the level, Gramps, aka Eugene. Oh, and when I entered the room, I figured that I had the wrong gear, and I tried to switch. The whole cutscene just decided to break, and I had to reload the tab because like the game broke. I could not fix it in any other way. After which, and even with the resetting of the tab, I still had to fight the robots with bad gear anyway. So yeah, it was not great, but I saved Eugene. After which Eugene tells us that he sent those evil clouds to prank his grandkids whenever they argue. Gramps is on some wild timing. Anyway, he tells us to ask Benny for a master key as it's time for the finale of my little prank. Something tells me this guy's old, but he still got it. I can respect it. So we get the final key and head into a room where we encounter a clusterfuck of every cloud we've fought so far. It's all good though, as I beat it on my first attempt. Once that's been said and done, I head back to Gramps where he gives me the last kidney stone. Now, it was finally time. After all the paywalls, dragging things into boxes, and enemies that were like 10 levels above me, I can finally finish the Infinity Gauntlet. But then, Pippin shows up. Oh,
no! I won't let you use the power of the keystones against us!
And damn, this is the saddest downfall ever. Went from having literal dinosaurs to chests having to fight me. What a pathetic way to go out, is what I would say if I didn't barely win the battle with 36 health left. He's never stood a chance. Not even close. I place the last stone, and the Puppet Master shows up, and we finally fight him 1-1. However, he then uses some magic to send a dark version of Gerald our way, and he absolutely murks me and my team. So I try again, and once again get absolutely murked by him. It was very clear that there was no way I was beating this fight at my current level, so I consulted the wisdom of a friend who actually plays Prodigy. Supreme Soy. None of my subscriber base probably knows him, as he hasn't really appeared in a video in a minute, but here he is. So I asked him what level he was on when he beat the Puppet Master. Oh. So I asked him how long it would take for me to grind to level 100. 2 fucking weeks of grinding non-stop? Yeah, no, that's not happening. Oh, look at me. I'm so good at Prodigy, everybody. Look at me. I'm so great at Prodigy. I'm just destroying the Puppet Master right now.
We go.
Oh, look.
There's even music.
I'm so good at Prodigy.
Prepare yourself, wizard. I have a few tricks up my...
Oh my goodness, guys, look at me. I'm beating the Puppet Master right now. Oh, look, I beat him, guys. Look, hold on. Oh, I took my pet, but it doesn't matter, guys, because I'm just that good. Look at this. Oh my goodness, guys. I beat the Puppet Master, everyone. Look at me. I'm so good. Look, he just got destroyed.
I have better things to be doing with my time than beating Prodigy. And if you're wondering, beating the Puppet Master will net you his gear that you can wear, and that's about everything I know. Now, you may have noticed that there are 3 worlds I haven't yet gone through. So here's a quick show off of all of them. There's this one where you build 2 towers. Someone's gonna make the most obvious joke ever about this one in the comments. Another one when you try to find fossils and create exhibits in a museum. And then the duels arena where you duel random wizards. I got destroyed by this one. And finally the Dark Tower, of course, where you can't go over level 5 without a membership.
So after listening to me yap about a children's math game for over 40 minutes, we now must come to a conclusion. Should you try Prodigy out yourself? Nah. This game is kinda boring and linear, and on top of that, it's also really grindy compared to most of the games I play. The storyline is kinda flat, and all the missions in the game consist of fetch quests. On top of that, you gotta put up with paywalls and just about everything from evolving your pets down to the gear you're allowed to have, regardless if it's in your inventory or not. And then there's also the battle passes. And as I previously stated, I understand the game needs to make money somehow, but at this point I feel like it should have just either been a paid game or hell, even a subscription service, considering that it'll give free players this much hell. Seriously, I can't understand how my friends and my classmates were so hooked on this game, because as I've said before, I was never really that crazy about Prodigy. Anyway, if this video does well, I might make a video about Prodigy English, but I highly doubt this video will do numbers at all, and to be honest, I'm alright with that at this point. This video, I'm just happy to have it finished, to have it be out there, just to say I did it. Anyway, that's the end, I think.